All right, Jay, I'm ready when you are. Actually, let me take one sip of water real quick. Okay, I'm ready. Welcome back, everybody. You're listening to All About Healing, and I'm your host, Emily Francis. And we're on the final segment of today's show, Emily's Energy Corner. And I've been thinking a lot about what I wanted to talk about today. But first, I want to wrap up the show. We just had Noah Belling on the show, and she wrote the book Mindful Body. And I really, really liked the somatic psychology approach, which somatic means body. It's your body energy. So it's a psychology, but it's the psychology of the body. So it takes it a little deeper than just a straight shooting cognitive therapy. I really like that. And she's a yoga instructor and a former professional ballerina. So the show was really fascinating, and I loved what she talked about. And it just kind of serves as a reminder that she used the word a thinkaholic, which I've not actually heard before, but I really like it. I think it's catchy. If you're a thinkaholic and you get too far out of line when you get too carried away in your thoughts, you get pulled away from your body. So there's really simple, basic things of just self-touch to bring yourself back into your space and your being and hold your space and slow down your breathing. So I really loved that from the show today. And I also really loved a take-home, if you will, a take-home assignment of thinking about people in your life that really have your back. And it was interesting because I have a lot of really wonderful people in my life, but when I thought about like who really has my back, like no matter what, different people than I probably would have shot from the hip showed up in my head. So I encourage you just to take a second and think about in your life, in the whole span of your life, not necessarily just today, but just today works too, because who are the people that really have your back? And it's interesting because I thought of people, but I also thought of some of the angels that I subscribe to and that I work with all the time. And I feel like the angels really have my back all the time. And that makes me happy. Which takes us into our subject of today. There's so much happening in the world. We all know that. And we know that people are using religion as a means to say that they're right in treating people really awful. And that's just not the way that religion is really meant to be ever. So I want to talk about, really quick, religion and spirituality. And then I'm just going to side with spirituality, not because I'm not religious, but because I'm just going to go on that direction. But they say that the difference between being religious or being spiritual is that in many times the religion teaches you what to believe, and the spirituality allows you to find out what you believe. You can take that with a grain of salt, but I find that to be pretty true myself. And I like being on a spiritual path. But that doesn't mean that I don't go to church or that I'm not religious. So I'm open to all facets. And I love the yoga quote, and they say, we honor all religions, we claim none. But I hope that we stop using religion as a way to say that it's okay to hurt other people's children because they're not our children. Because children are children, and people are people, and we need to be a human race and not a one country race. So there's my little soapbox for the day, because that energy's been swirling obviously everywhere. And if we're going to talk about healing, then healing starts with how you behave and what is your internal compass of morality. And that leads me to the deeper part. And I'm going to be calling out some people on this little show because I've been thinking about this a lot, about the spiritual side of people. So you get to certain teachers, mentors, gurus, if you will. And I want to bring up two different people that I love. And so if you listen to this and you recognize yourself in this, my apologies. But these are stories from my life. I remember talking to a particular martial art teacher, and he has all these incredible friends. It's like his whole group is all these practitioners, and they're all incredibly spiritual, and they understand energy and healing, and they're just amazing. And I asked one time something about, how do you have all these friends that are like you? How do you have all these friends that practice what you practice and kind of have the same like mind? And he said, well, because I can only be friends with people that have done their work. Really, I asked more about the male versus female in his life, because the men were highly evolved people and the women weren't as impressive. And I feel like his rules when it came to women were completely different than when it came to men. And that's what it was. And he said something to the effect of, the men in my life have done their work. And I really sat back and I watched. I'm an observer of people's personalities and the way that they do things. And I noticed that he has this really high level of expectation of people that are friends, people that are practitioners with him, people that he surrounds himself with. However, on the flip side, he's not very respectful to a lot of women or to the women that are involved, that are the closest to him. He has like a different set of rules when it comes to intimate partners, and they're not nearly as respected. And they're not necessarily at the same level. It's just interesting. But I find that to be, if you're a spiritual person and you pride yourself on being a spiritual, open-minded, amazing, faithful, energy worker, healer, blah, 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 all those things that you may want to call yourself, and then you turn around on the side and you completely betray everything you teach and everything that you stand for and everything that you portray to be about. You lose that with me. And I'll go into it again with another person, female this time. And it was a friend of mine who came to me for some energy work and also for some just spiritual advice, I guess. And she was talking about that she's on this huge spiritual journey and her husband wasn't going on it with her. And it made her less and less attracted to him because he's not advancing and he's not becoming a spiritual person the way she viewed herself to be on this path. And so, but then as she's talking about all these things that she's doing and becoming, she slips in there that she's having an affair. Let me go ahead and tell you right now that if you think you're on a spiritual path and you're evolving into this amazing person, yet you're completely lying with your body and your mind and your words, you have lost all track of spirituality. You are not on a spiritual path really at all. And that's just, it's the truth. So I'm calling it out because it drives me crazy that you can come around and pretend like you're this super holy, clean, amazing person, and then on the side you are really shady, really shady. So what I'm calling today to say is if you embark on a path, whether it's religious or spiritual, whatever you want to call it, I don't care what the name is. If you're embarking on a path to better yourself and clean your soul and to evolve into something, it needs to be a fully rounded thing in life. It needs to be a fully rounded behavior pattern. You can't pick and choose where you're going to be spiritual and good and then pick and choose where you're going to be scummy, because that is really, it's just bad behavior. It's not hard. If you're going to cheat, just end the relationship. Be honest. Let that other person go. You're wasting everybody's time and you're causing pain and you're potentially putting their health in danger because you're not giving them an open choice with their bodies anymore, because you're doing something behind their back and they don't know that and they're making a decision based on false information. But if somebody does that to you, oh Lord, I mean, everything changes when it happens to us. And I find that to be something that's really happening a lot, is these amazing, beautiful people that you think they really have it together and they're really just fantastic, beautiful, soulful, clean, amazing people. And it turns out that maybe if you got a little closer, you might find that shiny beauty has a really, really dark, bruised side. So I want us to be mindful. So we were talking about the mindful body, and now I'm talking about your mindful behavior. And I want you to look at yourself today and those around you, and hopefully surround yourself with people that are running really clear, and that are sincere, and that are really walking the walk. So anyway, you guys, thanks for being here and listening to All About Healing. I look forward to seeing you next week. Thanks for being here, and I'll see you. Bye-bye.